Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of IGN's News, Games, and More. This is your weekdaily update newsy show where we sit around and talk about the biggest stuff going on in the world of video games and entertainment and whatnot. This is the one for the 10th of November. It's a pretty big day for video games. I'm filling in for Sydney Goodman, but I'm joined by my good pals Janet Garcia, Jeffrey Vega, and Josh Dew.
Hey.
Hey, everybody. Happy Xbox Series X Day. That's really kind of the big news today. There's other stuff, but there's really not a whole lot on that scale. Janet, you've had some time with the Series X, haven't you?
No, I actually haven't. I did order it though,
You
and
did order it.
it's delayed until tomorrow. So my Xbox day is a
Oh.
different day, unfortunately. Though I know I don't have time to play it right now because I'm doing a million other things. But I am very excited for I guess this is actually in some ways the start of the public next gen, because obviously we've had all the reviews and the coverage go up, but this is the first time that the public's getting a next gen console in their hands, which is really, really cool.
Josh, what about you? Did you get one?
I did not get one. I couldn't order one. And I don't want to I'm gonna spend money on one console at a time, so I chose to do the PS5 first, and then later down the line I'll probably do Xbox.
Yeah.
There's no urgency for the Xbox for me right now. So with PS5, it's I do really want to play Miles Morales. So when something big on Xbox comes around, maybe I'll sink in for that.
Jeffrey, what about you?
Yeah, I'm same with Josh. I pre-ordered a PS5 and I'm gonna pick it up on Thursday, and I'm very excited. But I am very excited for Xbox because, yeah, the next gen is here, which is so crazy to think. It's just the day. This is it. The day we've been waiting for ever.
No, it's super exciting. I think a lot of the reviews that kind of went up for the Series X was this thing is a powerhouse. This is really impressive, but the games haven't caught up with it yet. We haven't really seen anything fully take advantage of that, but I can't wait to see what Microsoft's increasingly impressive portfolio of studios starts doing that in a first party sense. Seeing some people in the chat. Some people got their Xbox, so that's cool. I saw somebody said that they got delayed until the 18th. That's a bummer, but at least it's showing up. The bad news about all this has been a really kind of rocky launch for both consoles because of the weird way internet pre-orders took place. Xbox Series X scalpers are already out there, and they are being very bad on the computer. We are seeing people selling the new console for over $1,000 on sites like Amazon and eBay, which is in US dollars, that is twice the going rate. Yeah, and this is not super uncommon, but I think it's especially egregious this year because of how sort of bumpy the pre-order process was. Josh, how was your PS5 pre-order? How did that go for you?
It's delayed. Well, potentially delayed. It's still kind of up in the air. It makes sense for these scalpers though. It's a bummer, but I think that because it's such a rare product and it's still coming out. You'll still be able to get one eventually. It's not like a concert ticket, concert tickets are, you miss it, it'll be a long time, or if ever you'll get to go to that concert again. With consoles though, I feel just wait a little bit. You really don't have to buy it.
There's not really any major upside to being an early adopter. You get early bugs, you pay more, and then you sit around and you're there aren't enough games out yet. But if you wait a little longer, you get a price break and patches and games and all the good parts of video games. But
it's the clout. You want the clout.
That's basically it. Yeah, you want to be able to say you were there day one.
It reminds me of a episode of. Sorry, this is about. I don't know if you guys see Nathan For You, but he does an episode where he tries to help out a liquor store, and he's like, "Oh, just sell liquor to minors." But since they're not allowed to legally buy it, they can buy a claim ticket, and then when they turn 21, they can go claim the alcohol that they bought. And he realized that a lot of teens didn't like that because they want to show off to their friends that they bought alcohol. So he set up a little photo area so they can pose with their alcohol that they bought, so they can send it to their friends.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So maybe we can do something similar here.
That's the future of pre-orders, I guess.
Yeah, offer the Xbox just to post on your Instagram stories, and people will be like, "Wow, you got an Xbox?" You'll be like, "Yeah." And
totally,
no,
just get the fake one. They did send out a fake
they
one.
Won't know, they won't know
That's
that
true.
you don't have it because the games are the same as if you did have it.
That's true.
You're like, oh man,
no one will
y'all
ever
don't
know.
even know what I'm seeing. I would describe it, but it's honestly indescribable. Geez, so many thoughts and emotions going through me right now. Like,
yeah, you're playing online with your friends. Like, guys, these graphics are so good. You have to see this, but you can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't have the technology.
Yeah, but
it's
go
wild
ahead.
seeing it's wild seeing scalping though for this, because I mean this is always the case with like, if someone wants something, like if a market is there, like enough people exist that can probably like buy these consoles from scalpers that want them this badly. But it's just funny when you pair it with like your sentiment, Josh, which I think is very valid, which is there's not really urgency to get the Xbox, but for some people there clearly is that urgency there because they want to be part of that, and it's like the excitement and not wanting to wait. And I guess if you have the money, you're just like, it's pretty wild though. For this price point, you really could, people always talk about like you could just get a PC. Like now we really are getting to the you could just build it instead. But I get it. Like it's exciting. I'm really looking forward to like opening up mine when it arrives. The packaging is really cool. I know it's a very basic thing to be excited about, but when it's like a launch, you kind of have to be hyped for all the little things about it. I mean, if you're I think an enthusiast enough to want a console at launch when the launch lineup isn't exclusive on either end, really. Like a lot of those games you could play on PS4 or you could play on other platforms. For the Xbox side, it's about like the experience of that, and I guess people will pay that premium price to get that experience.
Yeah. We got a great comment in the chat here. El Micho says someone is selling a Series X in my town for $900 that they won from Taco Bell, which maybe I'm a bad person, but I feel like that is worth 900. If it's one of the, I don't know if it does the thing where you push the button and makes the Taco Bell noise.
Did they make a Series X like that? There is an Xbox One that does that, right?
They made a limited edition One X that did that, which was really cool. And I feel like that probably will wind up selling for stupid amounts of money for like weird collectors. But I don't know, like if you weren't like if you went to the trouble of pre-ordering a thing and you're basically just reselling a thing that you bought fair and square, I feel like that's scalping. That's kind of tacky. But I feel like if you want it and you don't, whether or not you don't want it or you just need the $900, like that seems like a totally different sort of, I guess, philosophical choice.
No, yeah, for sure. It's not like you went out and were like stealing, like taking away from the inventory, right? That other people wanted. Like you just entered a contest. Like somebody was going to win it, and it didn't cost you anything. Strange.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, that person might just not like, they might not care, Like if I called a radio station in the year 2020, first of all, what am I doing? But also if I won concert tickets, let's ignore the fact I don't want to go to a concert for obvious reasons. But if I won concert tickets to like, I don't know, Mumford and Sons, I'd be like, I don't want these. I'm totally reselling them. Like this, get these out of here. That's not my
expect
thing.
Mumford and Sons to be dragged like this in this episode. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm saying like if I ever get Mumford and Son tickets, I'll hit you up and I'll sell them to you at retail value.
Whoa, I don't want them either. I just wouldn't throw my. And then I'll buy them from you. I'll buy them from you. I'll double the price, put them on eBay, and then.
Well, if he really didn't care, then he would sell it at retail, right? But he is trying to go for market value, which is much more than retail. So he is trying to make some money here.
Yeah, it's a quandary.
I will say that I used to work at the Apple store, and that I realized that a lot of customers that would come in and buy like 10 iPhones at a time with like 50 green dot Visa gift cards. It was very clear to me that is like people's main source of income. I'm not justifying scalpers. I mean, it's not great or fun, but it is kind of like this weird like secondary like whole not deep web, but like whole other like world that I never really try to like give in, because like when Nintendo is reprinting the Animal Crossing amiibo cards, and I'm so excited because I had some when the 3DS game was out, and then when New Horizons came out, they're like, oh, you can use it for the new game, and I wanted to buy a couple more, and they were like $50-$60, and now that you can just get them at Best Buy today. That's not a plug for Best Buy, sorry. You can just get them, and they're $6, and I'm like, okay, great. Sorry, scalpers, bye.
Somebody jumped on those scalpers, but yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing to think about, because it is. I mean, it's technically like it's probably illegal on some level, but for the most part, it's like, who's gonna really bust you for that? I used to work at Tower Records, and we were like a Ticketmaster location where you would go and people would like visit. Like this is before it was even really you could buy them online, but it was really, really bad. And so a lot of people would just line up outside the record store first thing in the morning and get tickets. And there was this dude named Scalper Dave who would show up, and some of us making $5.75 an hour would maybe open up if you were the shift manager, and let Scalper Dave in, and you hang out by the ticket master. And the second 9 o'clock struck, you just start pounding F5 on the Ricky Martin tickets, and then maybe he'd tip you like a crisp 50 for lunch. That was a thing. And anyway, long story short, I totally used to help it do the scalp tickets.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna. I thought this was gonna be a story about how you like screwed over Scalper Dave because you're like,
no,
screw
I
you, scalpers.
He would be like, he would come in like sweatpants, and he would be like, you got anything for Ricky Martin, front row? And I'd be like, I'll pull it up. And the Ticketmaster interface is like one of the weirdest things. He actually brought us a specially made Ticketmaster keyboard that had like all these weird like extra buttons on it, which is just yeah, no, it's really very strange. This was like 2005, so it wasn't even like that long
Scalper
ago.
Dave had this special keyboard.
He somehow got this special keyboard, which was an official Ticketmaster keyboard, and he brought it in to our Tower Records, and he gave it to us. And then we got like a new manager who was like a transfer from Tower Records corporate, and she came in and she's like, I don't want you selling that Scalper Dave anymore, and you give him back the keyboard. But yeah,
that's crazy. The scalping is an underground world. They have all these secret keyboards and stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah, but if I'd net him with the right tickets, he would pass me back one of the Ticketmaster envelopes with like cash in it. And I think like the first time it was like one of the other like managers was like babysitting me while I did this, and he handed this to me, and I was like, I don't know what this is. And he's like, get yourself something for lunch, and he handed me like $100. And I was like, but he was probably making way more on Ricky Martin tickets. I specifically remember Ricky Martin. I don't know why. It was a weird thing.
It's a very musically charged episode. But yeah, I mean, I think too, scalping and like the flip hustle and all that. Like I'm also on the note of I don't personally care. Like I don't see it as like I didn't get my pre-order because the scalpers took it from me. Like I wasn't gonna get it anyway. So there's that. And also it's really hard to do that stuff and expensive. It's funny because like I think with gaming, like there is I don't know, a certain angst that gets attached to it, but like there's so many other fields, like you mentioned with like the Ricky Martin tickets, where this happens all the time. Like this is not a new thing, and like maybe you were mad about it because you didn't get your thing, but like this is pretty normalized. Like, have you tried getting like a sneaker drop? Because it's impossible to get a sneaker drop. Like, and I'm not, like there's not going to be a world that exists where people aren't going to be doing it. Like I don't know, ask them to print more. Like they decided to do a limited run thing, and that's how those things are. And like if you're willing to do the hustle of like the bot thing, I don't really agree with, because that's kind of like, I don't know, cheesing it, I guess, in a weird way. It's a little bit different to me. But the people that go out there and they like hustle and stand in line and do all that work, like, hey, like that's more than I was willing to do. And sometimes I am willing just to pay the premium price to get something. I'm missing the Jack X Racing thing from Limited Run Games. It's the only one I didn't get. I put that on my Christmas list, and I put the link on there for my family, and I'm like, just get it off eBay. I honestly don't care. It's only like literally made $30 more or something. Like I want it. There's no other way to get it. Whatever. Like I'm not going to not get it because like the scalpers win. Like that. I just want my thing. Like it's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, shifting gears here. This is a weird thing to think about. We haven't had a Marvel movie this year. We were going to have Black Widow, and we were going to have the Eternals, but then they didn't happen. That's not a thing. We are seeing we had the biggest, most epic MCU year last year with Endgame, and then this year it's been kind of all quiet on the Marvel front, with the exception of WandaVision, which is finally dropping next month at some point. And we've got some details about it, which make this sound super weird. I based on everything about this show since day one, it sounded very strange and unusual, and I'm super here for it. But yeah, the first episode was apparently filmed in black and white in front of a studio audience, because the whole show is supposed to be a love letter to the golden age of television. Jeffrey, you're pretty big into Marvel stuff. What's your read on this?
Well, first of all, I'm very excited. I loved the trailers. I love Catherine Hahn. I love Elizabeth Olsen. Like I am very excited to see what Marvel Studios does with a 6-episode season that I feel like in the classic movie structure, they do it fine. But like, I think we've seen that success kind of branch out, like with The Mandalorian, where, the movies are, sometimes they're not so great, but The Mandalorian was like, oh, spending 8 hours in this world is super fun. And so the idea that we're going to basically get 6 Marvel movies in the span of, I don't know if it's going to be weekly or whatever, but like the fact that we'll have a Marvel, because for our jobs, like for all of us, we're always sort of like leading into the Marvel movie, we're nervous about spoilers. And with this, it's like we can all sort of be very excited every week of like, oh, what's going to happen? It's this like new era that, you know, I guess was going to come with or without a pandemic. And so like being able to like kind of have this community togetherness of all us watching a Marvel Studios thing, I'm very excited for it.
Josh, what about you? We wound up at a lot of the same, midnight showings of Marvel stuff last few years.
Yeah. I think, yeah, the most exciting part of it is that it feels really different. I think one thing that you can knock the Marvel movies for is how similar they all are to each other. And on some level, there's like that sort of international McDonald's sort of appeal where like no matter where you go in the world, like McDonald's is always going to be McDonald's. You can trust in that. Same with like Marvel movies. Like no matter which Marvel movie you watch, like you can always kind of know what you're going to get out of it. This is kind of like the first time I'm gonna be watching a Marvel thing and be like, I don't know what's gonna happen. It's like it looks very cosmic, it looks very magical. I don't it looks so bonkers that I'm very interested in seeing what it's about.
Janet, what's your read on this?
I'm down for it. I'm honestly just also really always looking for more content to consume, especially like now, because there's not a lot to get. I mean, on the games front, there's definitely a lot to get excited about, but it's been a weird season for entertainment in a lot of ways. Like I think the way I've like personally consumed entertainment media has drastically shifted due to COVID. So yeah, this seems cool. It seems different. I feel like I'm willing to take a dice roll on it because even if it's not great, it will at least be interesting, which I think is the case with a lot of these experiments. I also really like the stuff that zags, just kind of with anything, be it like film or television or games, because it's just sort of kind of like to Josh's point, like a different flavoring of things that you're not used to getting. And sometimes those things can be like some of the best stuff. Like I think of like the side stuff in Star Wars, this isn't exactly like a one-to-one, but like those are some of my favorite like stories from that universe. So I don't know if this will be that because it just seemed like kind of out there. I don't know if that's necessarily my taste, but I think that's the other interesting thing about this. It's kind of at least for someone me like of my age, like harkening back to an era that I don't have any like emotional thread for. So I don't know how I feel about that because it's not like it's pulling on a nostalgia that isn't mine. And while that can be effective for me for stuff that's not that far from my window, like the 80s and to some degree even the 70s, because I kind of lived those eras through my parents or other family members, like this is sort of a thread that's a little bit on the older end for that. So I'm not sure how like all my reactions will be different than maybe someone who can actually remember that and it kind of is like, oh, this got right or they did this intentionally different. When you don't really know what it's mimicking, it's hard to really appreciate what's going on there. So it'll be interesting to see.
That's an interesting point. It says here we do have some details. This is from the black and white 50s / early 60s era to the groovier 60s and 70s period to the classic 80s TGIF 90s. It sounds like, and based on what we've seen in the trailers, it sounds like they're going to kind of jump around aesthetically. And I honestly, I don't know. I mean, I don't know who would be watching Marvel stuff who would be enamored by the Leave It to Beaver nostalgia. Like, I think it's honestly that's more camp than anything else. Like, it's just, I think they wanted to do something. It's more of like a stylistic choice than like trying to really like. I don't think they're trying to get the boomer audience with this. Like this is
right.
But what if they did? Like, what if they did?
Well, props to them. Disney still getting everybody, I guess.
June Cleaver would never rip a hole in fabric and time. But no, to touch on like the Mandalorian side of things, I'm right there with you. Like I like the Mandalorian because it's honing in on like the weird, like dingy back corners of Star Wars that always were like, it was always the margin between like the fate of the galaxy. And that's the same thing that kind of works for this about the MCU. Like I like the weird little character moments, like like Ant-Man trying to eat a taco, or just like, I don't know, the goofy moments, like the little, tidbits. And like, obviously if you've got 23 superheroes jumping around trying to kill Thanos, like you don't really have any breathing room for that. So it's kind of going to be cool to see what does that look like spread across 6 episodes. And then next year we're going to get Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I think is going to be more of the same. But I think even more interestingly, like I've been saying this for a minute, where like Marvel movies they used to be like when you thought superhero movie, that was automatically an action movie. And I think they've been slowly sort of separating the different, like the different sort of veins of the Marvel Cinematic Universe have become their own little subgenres in a sense, where, you look at you know, you look at Thor, and it's in fantasy, and you look at, you know, Doctor Strange, they were saying the next one was going to veer into horror, and this is going to be them they're doing a superhero rom-com, which is nuts to think about. And next year we're getting a buddy comedy, like, you know, Thor Ragnarok wasn't already that, but it'll be cool to see. And also, like, it's kind of insane that this is how they're marketing it. Like, they're not doing anything to try to be like, this is the fate of the galaxy rests on this. They're like, this is superheroes in a sitcom. Like, I mean, at this point, I think they understand that people will watch anything that says Marvel at the beginning. So it's just, that's kind of an odd shift.
I hope it works. Like, I
Yeah.
appreciate them taking this really big risk, and I really hope it pans out for them.
Yeah, and we did know that this show was supposedly going to lead directly into the events of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And this definitely looks like it exists in some kind of alternate reality of some sort. So it's going to be weird to see how that plays out, because currently we're still waiting on, you know, the events of Black Widow to unfold, and also, you know, I don't have they shot Multiverse of Madness yet? Like,
I don't know. They're shooting Spider-Man 3 right now. And there's
Yeah,
like these
and-
rumors that the multiverse is going to be somehow incorporated into Spider-Man 3. But that's, I don't know. I don't think they've started shooting the new Doctor Strange. They lost the original director,
right? It was
Scott Derrickson. So
right,
he
right.
was he was the one that was like, "Oh, this is going to be a straight up horror movie." And he's a horror director, and then he left because I assume they were like, "Actually, don't make it that scary."
Yeah, I mean, we see this a lot where, you know, we see so many directors leave Star Wars, and it's because I think you get auteurs who want to work in like a, you know, like a that sandbox, but, you know, you really have to learn how to sort of play ball with a studio, because at the end of the day, you're not making your movie, you're making a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie.
I just remembered. Okay, Doctor Strange is now being directed by Sam Raimi, so maybe they are still going horror. Yeah.
And then there's the rumors that we're going to see
Toby
and Andrew Garfield in the next Spider-Verse or something. I love that.
merging the
at this
Raimi
point,
verse. Yeah.
I'm so into it. I love that we're getting just like getting universes ripped open. There's like rumors that like we're going to see Michael Keaton as Batman again, and that there's multiple Batmen in play. Like, that's fun.
That's that's probably what I'm most excited for about like the future of superhero movies, is because like comic books are just super weird with this stuff, and you can go really like nerdcore. I don't know if that's a word, but just get really deep into the mechanics of multiverses and all these different versions of characters. And the fact that both of these studios are going to lean into that is wild to me. Like, they're expecting mainstream audiences to be like, "Oh yeah, I get it. I get
It's
like
cool, yeah.
that there's
It's-
multiple versions of this character now."
And it's not just movies anymore. Like, we got, you know, TV shows and limited run series and whatnot, and it's yeah, feels good. All right, back to games. This is two little tidbits of Cyberpunk news, both of which are good, which is nice, because there was a rumor going around that it was going to get delayed again. I don't know where this came from, but we got a statement. IGN reached out. They said, as a rule, we don't comment on rumors or speculation, but I will confirm we were just taking time to update all of our assets to reflect the new launch date of December 10th. They are reiterating it is coming out December 10th. I think if we were this close and they pushed it again, people would just they would just get mad. They would just get
Well, the thing is, they said this exact same thing the day before they delayed it. So,
I mean, there was like a guy on Twitter who said it to one person, right? Like,
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different than like an official statement.
Sure, yeah, a full-on statement.
I guess though, I don't know. What a terrible position to be in. Now I just feel bad because,
Mhm.
you know, we have to just kind of take the statement as is. But like, what if they are kind of worried and they're like, oh man, like it's like now I feel like they're in those like when you have decision-based games and it's just like, here are two terrible decisions, pick the one that you think will lead to the least deaths, and you just kind of like, I guess the right. Yeah, because like what else is there to like, if you say nothing, that's more damning than just saying sure, because like, hey, best case scenario that works out, worst case scenario, well, people are already gonna be mad, so like it's not like you would be less mad. I have no confidence in this game coming out before 2021.
Really? Yeah.
I have light. I mean, I wouldn't want to bet money on it, you know?
Sure.
Like, if you were like, oh, which one do you want to bet on? I'm like, I'm not going to do either of these, because there's been a lot of drama with it, and I wonder, was December 10th a date that was picked because you just need that little tiny bit of time and that has like a little bit of a wiggle room to it, or is that just the next milestone that you're hoping that you can say and race towards and hit when you fail to hit all these other ones?
Well, they're
Which
saying
one?
that it's the one that I think that they're saying that they're going to ship it on this day, whether or not it's like ready. I mean, also it went gold.
That's also
Like everything they're
possible.
doing now is, I think, trying to like tweak it for either the amount of polish they want it to ship with, or trying to get it to run more smoothly on like base launch consoles of last gen.
Right. I think that's what they stated, right? Like the main reason that they're being held back is that they're trying to still optimize it for current gen. I mean, current gen is now next gen since the Xbox is out, but you know what I mean.
Whoa,
Yeah, no,
what
it's they're not delaying it because it's broken. They're delaying it because it needs more polish. Just like I didn't repeat senior year because I was stupid. I repeated senior year because I didn't have enough PE credits. Okay.
Like it was so
Anyway.
we actually made it
Is
so
that
well
true?
that
I wish I was kidding.
Oh no. Really?
Yeah.
What did you
What?
take for PE?
I transferred, and there was a whole weird thing where my PE credits didn't line up, and I
So
just kept
how did
putting
you
it
make
off,
them
and
up?
I just repeated senior year. I just was like
The whole
I
senior
was
year.
I was like I was young for my grade. I transferred beginning of
Oh, okay.
sophomore, so I was like, yeah, screw it, whatever. I finally have friends, and I had like a nice senior. I went out on a high note, so
Nice.
yeah, and that's
So
I
all you
would
needed
say
was PE. Were you only
Yeah.
going to school for PE?
I was
goes up for kickball and leaves.
Yeah.
Get it, man. There was like a
Smell
like,
you later, guys.
did you have that thing? It's like the end of senior year where they would give you like a slip of paper, and it was like the last stupid fetch quest in a video game where you had to go around and get like all the teachers to sign off on it.
No.
Okay, I hate my school then, because they were like,
Shout
you
out
must go and confront every last one of your teachers and ask them to sign the sheet that says that you're going to pass, so you can
Was it just
graduate.
because you were in a weird situation where you already had to repeat and they kind of just
No,
wanted
that
to
was
like
everybody. It was like one last little bit of bureaucracy, so the teachers could just be like, "Oh, go make busy time with yourself. Go do this." And like, I remember I went to my PE teacher and I was like, "Will you sign this?" And she's like, "Yeah, but you got to run the mile." And I was like, "No." And she's like, hey, give me like 2 laps." And I was like, "Ugh." Anyway,
That's so odd.
Wait, it's
But
because like the end of senior year, like nothing happens, right? So they're like, just
no,
make
they
sure.
just want to keep you busy. They're like, "Hey, get this signed.
Yeah.
Go to Six Flags and watch this video about how you shouldn't drink and drive." Like
you
it's
gotta pad it out. That's kind of
Yeah.
the end of every school year because like you need to put grades in. So it's like, what can I have you do that my boss won't get mad if they walk in and see you doing this? But also, I need to finish this thing.
Mhm.
I taught for context. I taught for like a year before I worked at IGN. Yeah, that's really odd. Also, I ordered the Cyberpunk guide because of wikis, and that's supposed to arrive December 10th. So I'm hoping even if they, in my dream, I'm like push it back a little, but already have shipped the guide so I can get it early and start going over.
That's a good sign. At the very least, you could spoil the whole game.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, as a guides writer, that is quite literally my job. Like, everyone hates the guide that's like, I don't want to give it away. I'm like, I opened this book so you could give this away.
All right, so we have one more piece of Cyberpunk news that's sort of it's non-news, but it's also not bad news. I guess there was confusion that people thought that ray tracing was going to be exclusive to NVIDIA graphics cards, because I think they licensed the Cyberpunk brand to show off some of the new high-end graphics cards, and so it said NVIDIA on everything. And they said Cyberpunk 2077 uses the industry standard DirectX ray tracing API. It will work on any DXR compatible GPU, Burke said. Nothing related to Cyberpunk 2077. Ray tracing is proprietary to NVIDIA, so that's good news. So regardless of whatever graphics card you have, well, actually, if you have a slow one, you might be screwed. But the point is, it's a equal opportunity.
Ray tracing for
quadruple A
everybody.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that's weird is like this game isn't coming out for next gen. I mean, it is coming out for next gen, but it's not shipping it next gen. Like if you go on Amazon right now and type in, Cyberpunk Xbox, there is no Series X version, there's no PS5 version, because those are automatic. Like you're going to get the upgrade, but I don't know if they've said exactly when that's kicking in. But I mean, with Xbox, it's like a whole smart delivery thing. With PS5, I have no idea how that works, but it's entirely possible we see a thing like GTA 5 did, where they shipped the PS3 360 version and then they came out a year into next gen when they're like, here's the new super polished version, check it out.
Just to make more money.
Yeah, no, why not? But I mean, they're also really good about it's going to be a free upgrade for whoever has it. I just don't know when that's happening or if that is at launch. So, but the
More
PC crowd has it
questions.
much better. Yeah.
Yeah, I had my
seeing...
friend got a he's getting his first ever PlayStation, and he texted me asking where's the PS5 version of Cyberpunk, and I was like, you have to buy the PS4 case for it, and he was like, thought I was joking, and I was like, it's not clear at all, which is ironic when they say that.
I think Spider-Man is this.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I think Spider-Man. They're also selling the PS4 and the PS5 version, and I was like, wait, which one do I buy? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, because then
at some point we're gonna have like weird Xbox Series X games, but there's.
I can't tell if Jeffrey's doing a bit or if he's
no. I don't know if I'm on a delay. I'll just say really quick while I have the floor, while I have the YouTube video. Hello, everybody. Is that I just think it's ironic because Cyberpunk is saying that they're delaying it because of previous gen when that's their whole only version you can buy. So I guess it makes sense in that way where it's like, hey, we have to sell you this like old gen now. But it's such a mess. I want them to delay to 2021 because I still have a backlog on current or last gen now.
Today is a weird day to be doing this show for sure.
Oh, I can't wait till these things are out and everyone can just, chill out and play video games. It'll be good. All right, here's a cool piece of information. I like this one a whole lot. I love finding out about things that almost happened in the world of making up fake stuff and putting it in movies and games or whatever. There is a new book coming out called The Star Wars Archives, 1999 to 2005, which is a big, huge, expensive making of art book from Taschen, which is a company that publishes those like $150 hardcover coffee table books. They sell at museum gift shops, but it is a deep dive on George Lucas making the prequel trilogy. And there's a bunch of like brand new interviews and stuff in there. And a Reddit user named BothanSpy89 just posted a photo of a screenshot from the new book. And it has some crazy revelations about what could have happened in the sequel trilogy had George Lucas followed through and directed it. And there's a quote, by the end of the trilogy, oh, wait, no, there's a more exciting part. The excerpt reveals that Darth Maul would have returned as the big bad of the galaxy far, far away, alongside his apprentice, Darth Talon. And they would have been basically running a whole criminal underworld thing. And that's kind of crazy to imagine. And Lucas said, by the end of the trilogy, Luke would have rebuilt much of the Jedi, and we would have the renewal of the New Republic with Leia, Senator Organa becoming the Supreme Chancellor in charge of everything. So she ended up being the chosen one. I just love that every once in a while George Lucas pops up and he's like, oh yeah, I found this thing I wrote in a notebook in 1998, and and he just kind of throws that on the internet, and nerds just lose their mind. What do we make of this? Do we like the idea of Darth Maul as a criminal overlord in the sequel trilogy era?
It's a weird, like I don't think we've ever seen like a criminal bad guy except for Jabba the Hutt, right? Like Star Wars never really had a big criminal Godfather-esque role other than Jabba the Hutt. And I feel like it's weird that Darth Maul is filling that void once Jabba dies. Because he was like a Sith Lord. Is that accurate? I'm not big on. I don't know all my Star Wars lingo for sure. Is he a Sith Lord? Is he considered a Sith Lord?
No, Maul isn't. He was initially like he was Darth Maul, but in the later stuff that he's popped up in, he's just called Maul, and he becomes like leader of the Crimson Hand or the Black Sun or the Pacific Rim or whatever the name of his criminal thing is.
Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
I dig it though. I mean, Maul was always like one of the more cooler and interesting like Star Wars characters, and like killing him off in episode 1 was just like, wow, this is cool, like ballsy. And then they couldn't really follow anything up with that. I would like to see more Maul in general.
Yeah, I mean it's wild. Also, the interesting thing, I don't know what I haven't read these books yet, so I can't speak to what Lucas says, but like the idea of the sequel trilogy having like clearly there's conflict and there's Maul is around there, but if he's it doesn't sound like he's doing Sith Lord stuff really. Like it sounds like it's more just like the Empire's out of the way, but criminals have become a problem, and we've got to get the crooks, the evil space wizard criminals. Like
Now it's like superheroes. Star Wars is gonna turn into like a superhero universe where the good guys have to defeat these criminal bad guys.
that would be so weird.
But he is like this type of role in Solo, right? Like at the end
Yeah,
of
no, I mean,
Solo, he
that's-
pops up as this like criminal overlord guy.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, he's not going to show up in the sequel trilogy because we just got that, and he wasn't
Right.
anywhere to be seen, which is just it's all very strange. It's a weird time. Somebody in the chat said they had a question, but then they didn't ask it. They just said they had a question, and
They had a question about Maul.
well, they had a question. They didn't say what it was about. And I just said ask it. You know, like I'm trying to look at the chat. Most people are just arguing about scalping and HDMI stuff. Anyway, we've got a couple more little weird tidbit stories. Bloodshot 2, everybody. It's a thing. It's happening. Vin Diesel is back as Bloodshot, which was one of the last movies to come out before everything shut down from COVID. Jeffrey Vega, what do you make of Bloodshot? You were known as IGN's #1 Bloodshot fan.
That's true, right?
One
That's
year in a
Bloodshot
row,
hat, isn't it?
Yeah, I had it custom made. It is embroidered. No, yeah, it's so because it's funny. We were just talking about what was like the last movie we saw in theaters, which it was. I just saw Pixar's Onward, and I just remember always seeing the trailer for Bloodshot, which seen that trailer a bunch of times. The trailer itself is the same Vin Diesel scene over and over and over again. And I'm pretty sure it came out on the day of lockdown in Los Angeles. And I can't imagine anyone saw it enough for it to be greenlit as sequel. But I mean, that's great for Vin.
It's good. No, the theory here is that it blew up on VOD, and everyone who was just stuck at home was like, "What are we gonna watch?" And it was like, "Is New Mutants out yet?" And they're like, "No." And it's like, "Can we see Wonder Woman?" And they're like, "No." And it's like Bloodshot, and people are like, I'll pay $4 here."
That's crazy.
Bloodshot.
Yeah, this movie like made like negative money at like the box. It didn't make it made less than its budget at the box office. And for it to get a sequel is crazy. That must mean it did really well on
Yeah,
VOD.
but they never show VOD stuff for box office, or do
Yeah.
they? Like they don't include that because that's not box office. That's the Blockbuster or whatever. That's buying DVDs at Walgreens. Like,
Oh, apparently this is launching a new shared cinematic universe.
it's the
That's
Valiant one,
neat.
right?
I've never heard of those before. Yeah, the Valiant Comics superheroes.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, they already got a sequel. I mean, that's looking pretty good for them. What are the other Valiant comic superheroes?
Great question.
Some of them are good. Apparently, people said they're good. That's one of those ones that, like, back in the '90s, it showed up kind of on like sort of around the time Image got popular, and then I think it was like kind of corny back then. But then a bunch of good writers went and wrote really good comics there. But by that point, like, you'd have to really kind of twist someone's arm to get them to like read Valiant. I don't know. Bloodshot was always just sort of like, here's like regenerative Punisher, kind of like he's
Yeah.
you know.
There's a lot. I had no idea they had this many superheroes under Valiant. I'm like looking at a list, and there's a lot.
Denver 8 says Exo Manowar. That's the one. I forgot about that one. It was kind of
Yes.
like a Iron Man-ish. It's like a robot suit, I think. Am I crazy? I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's what it looks like in these pictures.
Right on. Well,
Also, I'm
There's
dead like to
also-
clip out for our review of Bloodshot, like the first one. Which I don't know. Do I have to watch Bloodshot 1 to know what's going on in Bloodshot 2? All right. Anyway, it says Bloodshot largely overcomes a slew of cliches and an awful opening 20 minutes to prove a mostly fun Vin Diesel flick. I love that has never made me want to watch the first 20 minutes of a thing more than like that intro into it. It's like, oh, after that, like it's, it starts to rise, but I'm like, what's so bad about those first 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Where I can imagine like the person reviewing this just like, really? Like just real, yeah, but it ended up being, we gave it okay, which sounds like, I think a lot of times with movies like this, it's sort of the thing I throw on this sounds like a classic Thanksgiving movie for me, where like the way we cook the turkey, which that's kind of how the only way to cook a turkey. It's like hours, like a day long process. You know, you put the brine together the night before, and you take it out and you check it. It's like this is going on in the background while we're stuffing the turkey with like whatever and just drinking. Like you just buy like a 30 rack of something, you just chill and drink and cook something for like 6 hours before you eat it and fall asleep. This is the kind of thing that will be playing in the background to all that.
I'm right there with you, but in a different place. In a better version of 2020, I would fall asleep drunk to Bloodshot on a plane. Like that would be, that's just like a good, like, oh, what do we got
That
here?
sounds
Oh,
ideal.
seat back. And then, yeah.
That the first 20 minutes of Bloodshot that being really bad reminded me of, totally unrelated, but the movie Hellboy, the remake with David Harbour, which I love David Harbour. The movie was so awful, and everyone on the social team knows that I love every movie, but the very first scene of Hellboy is Hellboy on the phone, and you can clearly see the iPhone home screen. It's the first scene, and I was like looking in the theater, like my heart racing. I was like, there's no way that nobody caught the very opening miss on the like 1 second timestamp of him on the phone. Like, man, maybe not every movie is good.
No, some of them are very bad. I think on that note, we're gonna wind things up, because not every news day is an exciting news day to talk about news. But hey, the Xbox came out, and if you got an Xbox Series X, congratulations to you, and I hope you enjoy it. And if it shows up today, then bonus points. We can do this. We get to do this whole weird, did you get one or not, or who's scalping it or what, in 2 days when the PlayStation 5 drops. In the meantime, for all sorts of next gen coverage, keep an eye on IGN. We have all sorts of people working very hard to make lots of next gen coverage. Josh, Janet, Jeffrey, thank you so much for jumping on here and hanging out with me. And thank you to everyone watching at home. And thanks to Mariah, our technical director, who has been showing us all these great clips from such hit films as Bloodshot.
Bloodshot.
Have a great night, everybody.
Wear a mask.